The grand hall of the palace was still, save for the sound of shuffling feet as scholars and ministers knelt in anxious silence before the ruler. The Sultan, a man of powerful intellect and ruthless logic, sat upon his golden throne, his piercing eyes scanning the assembly. Today, he had issued a challenge that no one could ignore. With a voice that boomed like thunder, the Sultan declared, "Prove to me that faith is more than mere words. Show me its power, or I shall rid my kingdom of all religious teachings." A wave of discomfort rippled through the room. The Sultan's decree was bold, and the silence that followed was heavy. His ministers and scholars looked at one another nervously, unsure of how to respond. But among the crowd, there was one man who remained calm. An elderly scholar with a strong, unwavering presence stepped forward. His robe was simple and worn with age, but his spine was as straight as the finest arrow. He stepped forward with the grace of someone who had seen many storms come and go. "Your Majesty," the scholar said, his voice steady and clear, "faith is not something that can be proven in a single moment. It is not a spectacle, nor is it something that can be measured in coins or titles. It grows like a seed in fertile soil, nurtured by actions, kindness, and belief." The Sultan's lips curled into a smirk. "Poetry, old man. Poetry won't save you now. You wish to speak of faith? Then prove it. Show me its power with your own eyes." The room fell silent, every gaze now fixed on the scholar. Without hesitation, the scholar bowed low. "Then, Your Majesty, allow me to tell you the story of a humble carpenter. Yusuf was a man of humble means. His hands were calloused from years of shaping wood, but his heart was softer than the finest cedar. He worked tirelessly, crafting doors not only for the homes of the wealthy, but for anyone in need. His work was impeccable, but it was his character that set him apart. Despite his poverty, he was known to give away his last coin to orphans, share bread with the hungry, and never once complain about his own struggles. One bitter winter, when the chill seemed to seep into every corner of the land, the Sultan's tax collectors came to Yusuf's small, humble home. They demanded the taxes that Yusuf could not pay. He had nothing but a loaf of stale bread left in his cupboard. The collector, his face twisted with disdain, snatched the loaf. "This won't even cover a fraction of your debt." Yusuf, with a peaceful smile, handed over his tools instead. The chisels, the saws, the very tools that had brought him both his livelihood and his pride. "Take these," he said. "They are worth more than bread. My work may feed my family in the future." That night, Yusuf's wife cried softly, her heart heavy with worry. "How will we survive? How will we eat?" Yusuf knelt, offering his troubles to Allah. "Allah increases those who give," he whispered in prayer, his voice trembling not from fear, but from faith. And just as the first light of dawn kissed the earth, there came a knock at their door. A wealthy merchant stood before them, his face glowing with excitement. "I had a dream," he said. "I saw a man with golden hands, a carpenter who could build anything. I have a great commission for you. Build for me and name your price." Yusuf was stunned. Was it truly a miracle, or was it just coincidence? The Sultan, however, scoffed from his throne as the scholar finished this part of the story. "Coincidence," he muttered, eyes narrowing, but the scholar only shook his head, a knowing smile on his face. "Wait, Your Majesty, there is more." Years passed, and Yusuf's reputation grew. People from all corners of the kingdom sought his skill, and his work was in demand. But with fame came jealousy. The Sultan, once amused by the carpenter's story, grew envious of Yusuf's growing legend. He wanted to see this faith in action, to put it to the test. One day he summoned Yusuf to the palace. "You claim that faith gives you strength," the Sultan said, his voice cold and calculating. "Then carve for me a door so magnificent, so secure, that no thief in the world could ever breach it. Fail, and I will have you cast into the dungeon, and your hands will be cut off so that you may never work again." Yusuf, undeterred by the threat, nodded humbly. "As you wish, Your Majesty." For 40 days, Yusuf worked tirelessly, carving deep into the wood. Each stroke of his chisel was not just a cut into the wood, but a testament to his faith. On the door, he etched verses of hope, mercy, and trust in Allah. His hands moved in rhythm with his prayers, each action an act of devotion. When the door was finally finished, it gleamed with the beauty of 1,000 prayers. The Sultan was eager to see if Yusuf's work could live up to its promises. He sneered and ordered his guards to strike the door with an axe. The guards raised their weapons high, and with a mighty swing, the axe came down. But as the blade made contact with the door, something unbelievable happened. The axe split into pieces, its edge shattering like glass. The crowd gasped, their mouths agape. The Sultan's face twisted with fury. "Sorcery!" he yelled, his voice filled with rage. "This is witchcraft!" Yusuf, still kneeling before the door, looked up with calm eyes. "No, Your Majesty, the door is not magical. The door is weak and the wood is fragile. But the words upon it, the words of faith, those are unbreakable." The Sultan stood there, speechless, anger rising in his chest. How could a simple carpenter's faith have outdone his logic, his power, his strength? That night, as the Sultan lay restless on his bed, the thoughts of Yusuf's door swirled in his mind. The skepticism and arrogance that had ruled his thoughts now seemed hollow and empty. He could not shake the feeling that something profound had just happened, something that no amount of wealth or power could explain. As he slept, the Sultan dreamed. In his dream, he found himself standing in the presence of his long-dead mother. She handed him a chisel, the same one Yusuf had used. "You rule kingdoms, my son," she said softly, "but can you rule your soul?" He awoke with a start, sweat beading on his forehead. The dream haunted him, and for the first time in many years, the Sultan felt something stir within him, something beyond reason. At dawn, he called for Yusuf to be brought to the palace once more. Yusuf knelt before him, his heart as humble as ever. The Sultan looked deep into his eyes and asked, "How did your faith grow so strong, Yusuf?" Yusuf smiled, a warmth in his eyes. "Faith, Your Majesty, is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it grows. Each test, each challenge is an opportunity to lift that muscle higher." He placed a gentle hand on the Sultan's chest. "You felt it, didn't you? When you spared that orphan last week, that was faith." The Sultan's eyes widened in surprise. I didn't tell anyone about that." Yusuf nodded, his smile softening. "Allah did." A long silence followed, broken only by the soft sound of the Sultan's breathing. And then, to the astonishment of all who watched, the Sultan, the powerful ruler, the man who had once dismissed faith as nothing but a weakness, he wept. Thank you so much for listening. If this story touched your heart and inspired you, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Aspire Deen for more uplifting stories, wisdom and insights. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video. Keep aspiring higher, and may your faith grow stronger with each passing day. Until next time, take care and stay inspired.